looks like they are really attacking our food chain, not only the farmers but also the fishermen. It is an agenda to get rid of the farmers. The situation has become even worse. They want to get rid of 3,000 big nitrogen polluters.
Rob, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, my pleasure.
Can you sort of give us an update? Because a lot of people in America have been following what was happening with the Dutch farmers last summer. Can you give us an update about what's happening there now with the nitrogen reduction plan?
The situation has become even worse because there are more rules the Brussels put on them, and it seems not that our government is trying to solve the problems. As a matter of fact, they create more problems to get rid of our farmers, which is really ridiculous because they are producing our food.
I remember when I was there last time, that was when the government issued a new plan saying they're going to go after the largest farms first, right? And that seemed to me, and a lot of farmers actually breathed a sigh of relief. They're like, oh, okay, well, that sucks, but at least they won't go after my farm. But it seemed like an interesting strategy wherein it's like a divide and conquer strategy. Like, okay, we'll go for the top 5% of farms, but after we're done with those, it's like, okay, we'll go for the next 5%, the next 5%. After that was announced, is that actually now being implemented?
Yes, what they do is really divide the farmers with taxpayers' money. They want to get rid of 3,000 big nitrogen polluters. I don't know. I don't think that's the right word, but that's how the government sees them. And well, they give them a lot of money. So there are farmers who are receiving a lot of money, and they say, okay, for me it's acceptable, then I quit my business. And there are, of course, other ones who wants to fight, but they are divided. They are not united anymore, and that's what they are doing. And the situation has become even worse because I'm a member of the European Parliament, and now there is a new law, a nature to restore nature. So that means first we had all this Natura 2000 areas where nature must be preserved. But with this new law that's coming from Brussels, that makes our complete country a Nature 2000 area. So there are farmers who are now, let's say, safe, but it's a matter of time, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, and they have the same problem. So the farmers really have to fight now.
What you just described to an American audience might be just shocking, because in the American context, we don't have any supranational body like the EU telling us, hey, you can't do something or you have to do something as much. So that is really shocking. Is there a pushback in the Netherlands against this type of globalist, not globalist, but the EU-centric body that just tells you like, hey, you're now all a nature area and you have to preserve what's there now. You have to keep the nitrogen level here forever, no matter how much industry you have. Is there any pushback in the country?
Well, our government is not willing to push back.
What about people?
I think there is a lot of support for the farmers and also for the fishermen because they have the same problem. That's really ridiculous. This small fishers boats, they have to be removed, and they're coming. This big ships coming in, and if you compare this to you don't see the small fisher boat, but the fishermen all have to be removed. So it looks like they are really attacking our food chain, not only the farmers but also the fishermen, which is a part of our Dutch culture. And our government is not. It is a agenda to get rid of the farmers. They don't fight. The people support the farmers, but the problem is our mainstream media is they give a wrong picture of the situation, so people are not well informed.
Whenever I go to Holland or the Netherlands, I usually read the Dutch media. I Google Translate it, and I'm always amazed how the media paints it like in a very black-white. You have the farmers who are fighting the good climate policies. Bad farmers, good climate policies. And it's like, But after speaking to I spoke to the farmers, I spoke to the scientists, I spoke to members of parliament, and I realized it's not so black and white. The farmers, they have technologies that they can use to reduce nitrogen.
Yeah.
The question of is too much nitrogen a bad thing is not even that clear, because it's just in Natura 2000 areas. More nitrogen is not bad. You just have more different trees, more different bushes, right? So it's like the media just seems to be gaslighting people into just going along with it and not questioning it. Is that an accurate assessment?
Yes, absolutely. Nitrogen is necessary for growing stuff, and they created a nature for themselves, a nature without trees, without plants, but only a few little small plants. But if you go back in history, the Netherlands was one big forest. Then in the 1700s, the population was growing. They needed wood. We built the ships to come to the United States, and we also built houses, and the people had to warm their houses. So a lot of these forests disappeared because people just burned it. Then these areas in the Netherlands became like a kind of desert, and that's what they called. This is the nature that we have to preserve. But it's really crazy. It's just a snapshot of the time that you want to see. And as a matter of fact, I'm 56. When I was young, we only had 2-3 kinds of birds in our garden, and also in the water. And what I see now is all kinds of birds. Maybe 20, 30 in the neighborhood where people live. Nature is. We did so good the last 40 years. Our farmers, since 1990, they reduced nitrogen with 66%. So that's a terrific job. But the farmers are to blame, because we have also the aviation industry, and that doesn't count. And that's crazy. We need the farmers. We are, after the United States, the second largest fruit producer of the world. Our farmers are really efficient. If we don't produce the food has to produce somewhere else. And the farmers there cannot do as efficient as the Dutch farmers can. But if you really look saving the planet, then you have to look to the global situation. And if you replace our farmers, then it will be the same thing somewhere else, because we have 8 billion mouths to feed on this planet.
So this is all kind of coming down to the idea of personal choice, personal freedom, right? Whether you're allowed to farm, whether you're allowed to vote representatives who represent you versus a bureaucrat in Europe who's going to do a top-down type of dictate. There was a very viral clip we actually showed on my program earlier in the year, where you were questioning a Pfizer executive right there. I believe it was in the European Parliament, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And you asked her a very interesting question. You asked whether there were any human trials. Can you actually kind of play through what did you ask her and what was her response?
Yeah, well, we had we asked for Mr. Bourla to come to the Parliament, because Mr. Bourla and
He's the CEO of Pfizer.
Who is the CEO of Pfizer, and we have also our President of the European Commission, Mrs. von der Leyen. They exchanged messages. We in Europe, in the European Union, I have to say, we bought for 71 billion euros vaccines. My estimate is 35-40 billion euros went to Pfizer. So we wanted to have transparency on these messages. The New York Times, that's where it started. They asked for this information. It was not given. But we wanted to have Mr. Bourla in our committee. It was a special COVID committee to investigate what went wrong and what we can do better and what went good. But Mr. Bourla wasn't willing to come, and he sent Mrs. Janine Small. I think I made her famous. I asked her, was the Pfizer vaccine tested on stopping the transmission before it entered the market? And then she said, no, we didn't, because we have to move with the speed of science. Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? If not, please say it clearly. If yes, are you willing to share the data with this committee? And I really want a straight answer, yes or no, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping humanisation before it's entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what is taking place in the market.
Of course I knew the answer, because we have seen the last variant of COVID, Omicron. Everyone who was vaccinated, they were the first one who were infected with Omicron. So I already knew that the answer, but she admitted it. And that was really the first time that it came out, because our governments, also in the United States, also in Europe, they pushed everyone, even young and healthy people, to take this mRNA shot. I'm not against.
In order to not just for themselves, but to stop the transmission, right? That was the messaging, to
That
stop
was
transmission.
it. You take it for all of society. You do it for someone else, for your grandmother and your grandfather. But that was a lie. It was a complete lie. And especially to young people, because in what I've seen in the Netherlands, my son was 19, 20 years old at that time. And he said, Dad, I think I'm going to take the vaccine because I have problems going to the university. My friends are all vaccinated. They're going to the restaurant and to the bars. And I cannot do anything. And I said, please don't. I'm not against vaccination. I said to my parents, maybe you are vulnerable. They are pretty old. Maybe it's a good thing to take the vaccine. To my kids, my daughter was 24 at that time. My son was 20, I think. I said, please don't, because we do not know the long-term effect of this so-called mRNA shot. They called it a vaccine, which is not. They called it a vaccine just for propaganda, because vaccines are accepted in the society. That's also marketing. So I'm not against it, but it is an individual choice. And it depends on your individual situation. If you're vulnerable, if you have overweight, or you have diabetes. And democracy is the freedom to choose, and they took it away. There was a lot of, I think, they divided societies, families, friends, colleagues. It was horrible, and it's about human rights to make your own choice. So yeah, that was I think that was the hole in the dike. Since then, even the monkeypox was not. They were not able to sell the monkeypox anymore.
Last question. Were those text messages actually revealed? Did the European Parliament release those text messages between the European Commission President and the CEO of Pfizer? Were they released? And if so, what did they show?
No, they're still not released. I believe the New York Times has now started a lawsuit against them. And I'm in the COVID committee, and I was able to achieve a majority to ask Mrs. von der Leyen to our committee, because it's about taxpayers' money. We need transparency. And I convinced the Greens, I convinced the Socialists, and only the Christian Democrats and the Liberals were not willing to go along in this coalition. But now they made an agreement that she don't have to come to the committee. She don't have to come to our plenary. She will be asked in, it's called the COP, the Conference of Presidents, where only the chairs of the groups are take place, and they can answer all the questions in camera, and there will be no answers. But this is really a disgrace, because they say we are a democracy, and if you don't give transparency, you are not a democracy. Only in a tyranny you don't have accountability to the people. So that's really a thing that is going on, and I hope the New York Times is able to break open this question, and I will be on it till the end of time.
Thank you, Mr. Roos.
Thank you.